Ben, are you all set?
Ben's always ready. He's always ready,
All
Ben.
right.
Look at him. He's got the good beer going. He's ready.
So, Cove, I think mostly Terry starts off with a little bio of yourself.
Okay.
Maybe you could give that to us.
Yeah, so a bit about me, I guess. I started off, like I didn't start playing basketball probably till maybe grade 8 or grade 9. I was soccer. My dad kind of played a semi-pro soccer growing up, and so he was always pushing me into soccer. And I think I played soccer for about 8 or 9 years. So I grew up playing soccer, like going to my dad's games, and then he played even like late into I mean adulthood. He played a lot of men's leagues, so I was always dragged out to those and watching those. So I played soccer for 8 or 9 years. I don't think first started playing basketball was in grade 8. I know I tried out for my junior high team in grade 7 and 8, never made it. And then grade 9, I made my high school basketball team. But that's where I kind of fell in love with the game a bit at a late age. Played in like hoops and hustle. My parents put me in that. And then I was lucky. I lived one street over from Mike Iambaggio. So we grew up together. So once I met Mike, that's where it really kind of pushed me, because he would call me to come play 2-on-2, 3-on-3. And we played like literally for, 7-8 hours a day, like from morning till night. He wouldn't let me go home. Like he'd say, no, one more. We'd just play. Anyways, played basketball, started playing grade 9, made my midget basketball team. And then I think I met you, Shake, maybe grade 9 or 10. And before that, I was starting to get into it. I was practicing on my own and kind of just, watching, going to Griffin's games and stuff like that. But I think when I met you is when it really like pushed me to get into basketball. And once I saw, the stuff that you did with me and the training side of things, it kind of took it to another level for me. I really absorbed that, and I was addicted to it. So, I remember, I think the first workout program you got me on was the basketball stuff with you, and then the training stuff with Floyd. I don't know if you remember that, but
Right, absolutely.
Floyd Coburn.
I'm pretty sure that we started when you were in grade 10, because I was coaching the midget team with Brendan Eccles.
Yeah.
And you were a junior. So I think that's a timeline right there.
Yeah. So I remember that summer is grade 9. It must have been after grade 9, because at grade 9, I think I had a coach there, and we and all the guys that were pretty good, like Chris and Poposky and those guys, they all skipped midget, so it left an opportunity for me to kind of jump in there and grow. So I think after that grade 9 year, when I met you, and like I said, you got me into the training with Floyd, and then the on-court stuff with you, I really kind of took that to the next level, and I was addicted. You got me that pass to get into the University of Guelph, and I would sneak in there and practice and play pickup. And I remember some of the older guys that would be there, some of the university guys. Like I lived a block away from the university, so I was there till late hours of the night. And I know guys like Omar Jennings and those guys were always in there, and I would practice with them, train with them and stuff. So yeah, so you really kind of, before you, I was getting into it, and then when I met you, you got me kind of hooked up with all those kinds of avenues to get better. It really kind of pushed things. But after that, after high school, went to University of Guelph, played there for my full 5 years. Then after that, I did my teacher's college out in Australia, and I went with Chris Poposky and Topper Triggetts. They didn't have any eligibility rules over there, so we ended up playing for the University of Western Sydney basketball team for a year. So Chris Toffer and I played for a team that wasn't really well known for basketball, but the coach, this play, and a couple of the guys got us there and told us to come up for the team. So we went for the team, and they kind of do things differently. They do exhibition games, and then you go to a qualifier tournament to go to nationals. So we ended up going to this qualifier tournament. We ended up actually winning the qualifier tournament for New South Wales, and we beat University of Sydney, who goes every year, but we upset them by like a couple points, and we went to nationals in Australia. So it was pretty cool. We lost in the semifinals out there, so it was something different. After that, came back here and played a little bit in that OPBA. I think, Terry, you were involved with that a bit.
Yeah.
And then I got into teaching. So now I teach, and my first teaching gig was out here in Orangeville, and I coached in District 10, and then Terry, we brought the program here at the Athlete Institute, and I got involved with you and got a chance to work with you and learn from you and stuff. So still working, still help out with the Athlete Institute and Orangeville Prep. I'm still teaching here at Orangeville, and doing a bit of coaching at Orangeville as well. But yeah, that's basically kind of what I've done. So
nice. I love the Australia part. I never knew that. I knew everything else, but I didn't know the Australia part. So for me, I always rewind here, and with Shake, with your team, I think you guys were all grade 11, and I was just in and out helping as I could. That is my favorite team I've ever coached. Being part of the coaching staff, myself, Shake, and Bobby, and Pat Neal. And I had never been around a bunch of kids that love the game more than your group. I really haven't. And so I just loved, the warm-ups, and you guys were such style. You had all the different track suits, the NBA jerseys and stuff like that. And I just want to reflect on those years for a second there, Koven, and say, during that time, like, I know my favorite moment, and it's not when you won the championship. My favorite moment, and I'll let you out to tell me what your favorite moment of those years were, but my favorite moment was when we beat Ross at Ross, and no one had ever beat Ross. And before the game, we came in and was basically like, who cares about these dudes? We're better than them. And we went out and beat them. And that was one of my favorite, I swear to God, one of my top 3 moments of my life as a coach. Just that group you guys had, what Shake had there, the energy, the passion, and just the love of the game. So, can you reflect a bit?
Yeah, the love for the game, honestly, it was, and this is where I still carry it on today. I mean, it wasn't even really the games we played in District 10. It was more the stuff we did together outside. Like, we would be playing 3-on-3, 2-on-2. Where are we going to play? Where's the next court we can go to? Like, these guys, like, Kenny, I'll throw some names: Kenny Hamilton, Toffer Triggett, Chris Poposky, Josh Fraser, Brendan Eccles, like all these guys. That would be our day every day. Like, where are we going to play? Where's the next game? Can we get into the University of Guelph? Can we get into school? Can we find an outdoor, like, whose driveway we're going to play at? These guys just ate it up. And at nights we were watching games, we're playing, like, it was all about basketball for us. So for me, the biggest memories were those driveway battles and going and playing pickup at the University of Guelph and wherever we could play, Shelldale, wherever. But in terms of games, like, that stuff just made us better. All those games we played on the driveway and stuff, when we would get to District 10 or any of those Quasa games where we were playing, we played together so much. We knew what each of us did well. And in terms of that team, I think when you were there, I think we had Hibbs too. We had a bit of everything. I mean, we were a very confident team. We had some height with Hibbs. We had, guys like Josh Fraser that's going to lay and Toffer Triggett is going to do everything and anything to get that win, right? And we had Chris Poposky, who was, confident through the roof, and right. So we had a lot of pieces to that team. But yeah, it all kind of came from that driveway basketball stuff. Like, we used to push each other. We used to play. I remember we would practice and we would stay after practice and play 3-on-3, 2-on-2. That's what we lived for when we were in high school. So
nice.
And then it started to extend, and we started to, meet other guys outside of our team, like, that were on different teams, and we played 3-on-3 with them. And, so we all knew each other. And that's my biggest memory is, going to the university, playing pickup, you know, going to Mikey's, Iron Baggio's and playing 3-on-3, 1-on-1, you know, forever. Like those are my biggest memories growing up was, you know, just going and playing pickups. So
I still got a bit of a thing in my craw because the year Mike was supposed to come over and he lived in the region and his two sisters went to Centennial and the entire school board went crazy and said he was going to transfer. And I'm like, transfer? He lives in the region. You know what I mean? Like that was my only thing that I was peed off about.
You lived off of my street and we talked about it all the time. Like, it would have been incredible to have him on our team. Like, I don't think anyone would have stopped us if we had him. So
yeah. Politics, man, politics.
yeah, but now, yeah, for sure. And you're right. He lived like literally a block away from me. So,
well, at that time, I think there were a whole bunch of guys who were right into ball, who were working on their games, and who played at several different schools within District 10. Yeah. And when you got to university, I remember one of my favorite moments was playing a game against Lourdes, and you had the ball, you broke somebody down, and you pulled up for a jump shot. And I'd been working on you developing a jump shot rather than a set shot for I don't know how long. And you nailed that jump shot, and I was like, yes, this guy's going to get some chances elsewhere. And as it turns out, you end up going to Guelph. And to me, the team you were on at Guelph was virtually a Guelph District 10 all-star team. Yeah. There were guys like Tom Jovanovich on it, Adam Miller, all these guys that I had worked with to a certain degree, but even more like Halfpenny. What was that like, getting to a university level and then hanging out with the same guys you always hung out with?
Yeah, it was good. I mean that era, like, I mean, even before me and after me, a lot of guys ended up staying, like you were saying. Like I think some names like Mark Melahays, like I was a guy that I you know, really looked up to and, you know, tried to compete with. I wanted to play against them as much as possible. But the talent then, there were so many teams. I think when I was in high school, you know, early on, it was just us, Ross, most of the time. But then, you know, St. James came into the mix, GC came in the mix, and they started pumping out some players. But we all knew each other. I mean, we all played, you know, pickup ball. We always played at the YMCA. We played at the University of Guelph. So we all knew each other. And so making that transition when they would come in, like I would think I was older than Melahays and Miller and all those guys. But when they came onto our team, we all knew how each other played. So there wasn't much of a transition that way. But yeah, it was easier. It was definitely easier knowing who they were and, you know, seeing them play and playing with them before when they came to our team for sure. But
so Koven, I have a quick question. So obviously you went from, you know, a guy that, you know, in Guelph and started training with Shake and, you know, really, you know, bought into the development and the training stuff. And now you're at, you know, one of the top powerhouses in Canada, you know, probably in North America with Orangeville Prep. Do you see any differences or similarities from what you did as a kid to what you're doing now? Or like what's it like? How much different is it?
Yeah, it's well, like the similarities is for me, like I was really addicted to the training part of things. Like I love playing pickup, but I had like this kind of jealousy factor to me too growing up, and I think that pushed me a bit. When I saw other players succeeding, you know, in grade 11 and grade 12, I was always looking at the Jeff McNeils and all those other guys having success, and I was really driven by that, and even Mikey too. Like Mikey pushed me to be. If I didn't have Mikey, you know, at my doorstep, I don't know if I'd be as good as I was, because I would see the success he was having, and I'd try to be like that. And now I think, you know, when you have these powerhouses, you have all these top players in one gym, and you get to compete against that on a daily basis, pushing each other to get better, right? I had to go and seek these players. I had to go and call, you know, Mark and I barely knew each other, Melahays, but we knew what we were doing with each other. We were trying to play against each other. We call each other up, let's go practice, but we wanted to get better. Like we wanted to like get better against each other. But these guys have that right at their doorstep now. They all live in a res. they go play pickup, they go work on their game, they get into it with each other in practice, and that's a similarity. But I think now you have everything. You have the training, you have your practices, you have a gym, 50 meters from your residence to get better. So I think the training's definitely advanced and the opportunities have definitely advanced. But I think still the same like competition and base part is all still there. I know, like, I think back to when I was, like I said, I was pretty jealous in situations. I wanted to be better. I remember Mikey and I would go to the university and practice, or we go play pickup, and it got bad at times. It got to the point where like we would leave and I needed to get better than him. I would sneak back in after we left just to get an hour or two in there, because I felt like I had to get better than he was. So it pushed me. I think having all these guys live in a res, and right now we have guys in lockdown that are living at the res, but they have the opportunity to push each other every day, right? Where we would get this not as much, but they have that opportunity every day. So I think that competition based and that opportunity to push each other is there. But yeah, the level of basketball, I mean, it's different. I feel like they have more opportunity now. I mean, when Jamal Murray was here and all those Thon Maker, all those guys were here, I was the guy that guys would get injured. They're like, Koven, can you suit up for this drill? Can you suit up to play pickup? Right. So I was the guy who would jump in the games, and I was playing with them. Like, I felt like some, when I think back, I'm like, was the skill that much different? Or I don't know. I think the avenues to get to where these guys got to have improved a ton. Like, I think a lot of our guys like from Guelph could have maybe, definitely succeeded more over in the States and stuff like that now. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Shake.
Yeah. Well, I personally think that training methods can get scientifically better, but you got basketballs and hoops that are the same size.
Yeah.
So the development of your skills and improving that area and improving your body is still going to be paramount in your successful journey to playing at the highest levels.
Yeah.
And while crossovers might have gotten out of the box a bit, you still got to make that transfer from right to left pretty fast and then make it work for you. So while methods may be somewhat different, I think they essentially remain the same. And it's more the level of motivation that determines how far you can get
Nowadays,
as long as you have an athletic body.
Yeah. Nowadays, you get an extra step. So can you imagine what we could have done with an extra step?
With the zero step, eh? What is a zero step? Yeah. It's just a travel. Let's be honest. So that's going to parlay into my next question. Officials in District 10. You've been all over the world now. Where do you rank them? And from being at Orangeville Prep and playing in Australia and playing at the university level, is there? I'm not going to say who's good and bad, but is there anything that, in your opinion, the District 10 officials could be better at?
Yeah, and I've played through them, and I've actually coached through them now, and they're still they're still the same refs, so that's an issue right there. It's the referees here. I feel like they try to get too involved. Most of them. I love Dino because he just doesn't call anything. Like, he just play. He doesn't call anything. And Australia, it was different because I got a chance to play with a lot of pro guys and play in summer league pro leagues over there and stuff. And Tim Darling was actually the one who hooked me up out there. He got me hooked up with this kind of semi-pro league that I played in a summer league with teams with guys that all play in the NBL, and they just let you play. Like, a foul there, you really have to hit someone for it to be a foul. So it was definitely different. But yeah, here it's just, I feel like they just get too much involved, and I know it frustrates me when I'm coaching. The game stops every 30 seconds and they just get too involved. They just got to put the whistle away and let guys play at times. But yeah, that would be my only.
I have a theory that that officials should only be able to call so many calls per quarter, and then they can't make another call.
Yeah.
But you got to pick the right calls. That's my theory, because you're right. There's so many times where there's a flow happening. It's a game, a little bump, a little shot. It's nothing. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Like, let's give them 5 calls a half, each guy. I think the games would be better.
That and just be consistent. Like,
yeah.
Set the tone for the first quarter and keep that tone the rest of the game. Don't change consistency throughout the game. Don't change and start making calls in the fourth. And, you know, like, coaches and players adjust in the first quarter, and then you gotta the fourth quarter they start controlling the game again. Just be consistent. So
and never officiate the score.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. There's, like you said, I mean, you see it in the OSBA too. Those, when you come up here, it's the same
same guys. Oh, I know.
Right. So
I know. I haven't had a lot of success up in Orangeville yet with Ridley, but we've had some success versus Orangeville, but never in Orangeville. It's, you know, you come in, it's the same guys, and they all say, "Hey Terry, how you been? You know, good. Yeah, I'm gonna give you the." I remember when you yelled at me when you were coaching at C.C.V.I. I got you today. Don't worry.
Yeah, Chiquetto, I never minded Chiquetto too. I always thought he would. I
mean,
I liked how he, you know, he would talk to you at least. He'd tell you why, or he'd talk to the players and tell them what they did wrong, or, you know, he was always kind of teaching and refereeing. I refereed for 3 years, and I went to a lot of his meetings and stuff like that. So I was like one of 5 referees in Orangeville, so I was getting a lot of gigs, but it got a chance for me to kind of learn from him and a bit too. So it was just nice. But yeah. So
I've always been curious. At some point, you were in charge of running Vince Carter's camp. How did that come about?
So Vince, yeah. So I've worked at Vince's camp for 2 years. So my cousin is married to his half brother, so his half brother kind of. So yeah, long story, but anyways, my cousin's married to him. So I directed a camp in New York, just outside New York, in a camp. It was a summer basketball. It was a summer camp, but basketball was part of it. It was like an Olympia camp in Wurtsboro, New York. And I directed that, so I was kind of directed the basketball side of things. And I went out. Vince had been traded to New Jersey at that time, and I went and visited my cousin and Jeff, who's Vince's half brother there, and he said I told him what I was doing. He's like, "Come work my camp. I need counselors." So I got a chance to work for 2 years. 2 years I went back. And it was awesome. It was a great experience because, once again, I was still playing a lot of basketball at that time, and I got a chance to play pickup after camp with, you know, Julius Hodges, Vince Carter, a couple of the guys, you know, that were around for the Nets at the time. I was playing pickup every day with them. So when I got a chance to play against guys like that, it was awesome. And that's where I kind of saw, like, these guys are amazing, like awesome players and bodies and athleticism, but you can still play against them. You can still do what you do against these guys. Like, but yeah, it was good. That's how I got connected with that. But yeah, it was a great opportunity, and still get a chance to go back. My cousin's husband, Jeff, he now works for the Devils. So he just stayed in New Jersey when Vince left, and he works for the Devils now. So yeah.
Nice. So I want to. Sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
No, go ahead, Terry. I want to make sure Ben gets a question in there too.
Sure. So Ben, you have a question after this one. So I just want to go back to District 10 there and just say, obviously, you know, who do you believe was your toughest matchup when you played in high school? It could be even within your team, or like, who was the guy that you're like, I don't want this guy covering me. You know what I mean? Like, I have to deal with this dude. Do you have anybody?
Toughest matchup? I guess, like, defending me.
Pardon me?
Or like, I'll give you the two. I guess the toughest guy that defended me was Mark Melhes.
Okay.
And once again, like I told you how we used to like call each other and play. So he knew what I did and I knew how he played. So he was probably the toughest guy to defend me. You know, quick feet, just, you know, beat me to the spot a lot. So really it was to play against him. And, you know, that's kind of part of the reason we used to call each other, to play against each other a lot, was to kind of figure out how to score on each other. But he was definitely probably the toughest guy to guard me, to guard, for me to guard. For me to guard, it's not really a guy from District 10, but from Guelph would probably have been, from my university days, would have been Curtis Seeley.
Okay.
He just, I don't know. I could, for some reason, I was a guy who always, you know, tried to beat defenders to the spot and kind of predicted what their moves were. But for him, for me, guarding Curtis, I don't know. You guys know, or no, Shake probably knows Curtis, and
Sure.
he became a kind of a Guelph guy a bit, but just a very shifty player. Guys like him and Shane Bosco were guys that were tough for me to guard. But yeah, definitely Melhes and that. But the guys like Jeff McNeil really taught me how to, you know, guard guys off the ball. I could, you know, I was okay staying with Jeff when he had the ball, but, you know, learning how to stay with him when he's going through screens and moving without the ball was something I had to develop in my game. But yeah, those are some guys that
I thought it might have been tough. Rodriguez constantly fouling you on every opportunity that he could and never calling a foul, but I digress.
How's that
I'm going to say that from my perspective, having been involved in coaching you guys, I would think that Suzuki and Kyle Knight and Trevor Harding all gave you guys a tough time.
Yeah.
I remember them being quick enough so that they could stay with you, and if we weren't in position, they were going to get to the goal.
Yeah,
we beat those teams.
Yeah, I think they were a couple years younger than us, maybe 1 or 2 years younger, or 2 years younger than us. Like, but yeah, those guys, I remember those guys. Yeah, and they were, I think a couple of them went to Brock or something. But yeah, they were.
That would be Harding. But Suzuki and Kyle Knight were
Bishops,
the backcourt that you guys faced most of the time at GC. Unfortunately, they didn't have big guys, so they didn't get W's.
I don't really remember them on the scene much in terms of, you know, like outside of District 10 playing them. Like, I don't remember university or anything like that. Like, I remember like Larson and Melhes and Halfpenny and Kinger. You know, we were playing with them at the YMCA at the university. Like, so those are the guys that I kind of remember the most. But yeah, they've maybe. Yeah, I don't really remember too many battles with those guys. But
is Kenny Duncan the same age as you guys, or are you a little older?
You're younger.
Wouldn't Kenny be in that mix too? No one really talks about Kenny, but Kenny was really good.
Yeah, Kenny was good. Yeah. I think he would have. I think.
Yeah, he wasn't super aggressive though at the time. He shot threes. He didn't really dunk a lot, and then in his last year, and when he went to PEI, he had like completely changed his game.
Yeah.
He didn't change it. He just became way more aggressive.
Yeah. Once again, I don't really remember. Like, I played against some of the younger guys, a lot of the younger guys from St. James, like they were a year younger. But I played against Mike a lot, and we were at the university. But I don't remember him at the playing pickup against much, or I remember him from District 10. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he became more confident and aggressive as he got older and once he got to university and stuff. Yeah, I heard he did really well out at PEI. I think he's still at, but
yeah,
he's a loan officer or something, isn't he, for the bank or something? He's doing very well professionally.
Yeah, I think so.
The guys that I remember, like, you know, the guys I played with, every day it was guys like Mikey and Chris, Paposky, Toffer. But Toffer's, like you said, Toffer's the guy that I've never had the opportunity, just in pickup, but he's always been on my team. He's that one guy you always want on your team, right?
I love Toffer. Fouling, he's the master fouler.
Yeah, well, we were in Australia, Chris and I did our thing out there, but when they saw Toffer, that at first glance they're like, why would we take, like, why is this guy here? But then once they had him in the first game, I mean, he had his own stat. He had his own stat for stolen rebounds.
Yes.
Anyone who got his rebounds, he was just waiting there for you to bring it down, and he would steal it. And he probably had like 4 or 5 of those a game. Like, he's that guy that you want.
The trickage rip away rebound.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
You got a question for Koven?
Yeah. I have a question. I just want to acknowledge our time left. We have about 3 minutes left, so it'll have to be kind of a brief answer, Koven.
Okay, no problem.
But my question is that you talked about kind of really starting basketball in grade 8, hoops and hustle, and then meeting Shake. And you talked about some of the ways that you got to the next level, and that's pretty impressive for starting at grade 8 and getting to, playing at the university level. So my question is, you mentioned training with Shake, your love of the game, the people that surrounded you that lifted you to achieve high levels. My question is, what are some of, or perhaps one particular obstacle that you faced and was a real challenge for you to face and overcome in order to get to where you got?
Yeah, and like you said, Shake and Terry as well, like once I met those guys and them putting me in that kind of circle of people involved in basketball, I didn't know anybody in basketball. And, when I made that grade 9 team, I was trying out for everything. And I made that grade 9 team. It kind of got me into basketball a bit and meeting Mikey and stuff. And then meeting Shake and Terry, and this is, before Shake drew hoops and stuff, but you got me into that circle and you put me in, avenues to train and stuff like that. I think in that circle, I really, like I said, I ate up everything you guys were given to me in terms of, all the skill stuff that we did, Shake. And then Terry, when I met you in high school, when you coached me, I was eating up all that stuff. But I think the biggest obstacle for me is you guys knew I was probably like $130, $140. I think my size was something that I didn't feel like was a negative thing or a downfall in my game, but I know other people did. So teams I would try out for, or coaches and stuff, would think that first, and it was something that kind of impacted me a bit, because I was like, no, I'm going to show them, no, I can play with these guys. I'm, that kind of stuff. So I did put in put the effort into training, and the, the stuff that we did with Floyd and everything. I really ate up all that stuff because I wanted to prove some of these coaches wrong and that I could compete. But I think that was a big obstacle for me was, I would play against guys like Mike Ironbaggio on the driveway, and it was no competition. Like I couldn't stop him at all. Like, so I think my size and being, so skinny was something that had a bit of an impact, but I worked on it, and it was an area that I had to improve in and get stronger and a little bigger so I could compete against some of the stronger athletes. But I think that was something that was negative. But like I said, working with you, Shake, you helped me out in those areas, and being able to, with the frame that I had, succeed and, be able to learn, like you said, learning that jump shot, learning to be able to, get into, use different moves to kind of, make my way to the basket and stuff, helped me succeed at the size that I was at. So, yeah.
So Ben, go ahead.
We're back.
Yeah.
Terry, are you all good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just cooking, man.
Okay.
Sunday stew.
All right.
I'm wasting away to nothing over here. I got to eat something.
So, Koven, my question was, I wanted to follow up on your answer about, your body being a big obstacle and a big focus you had to focus on in order to, compete with those guys who had bigger bodies than you. And you talked about, I forget the name. What was the gentleman's name that was at your
Floyd.
Okay. Yeah. So can you talk a bit about that experience? And now I know you talked about building a gym where you're going to look to be doing some personal training. So I'd like you to expand on that aspect of what you learned when you were younger, and the journey that it's been over the course of time, things that you've picked up, like important things that to people watching would be useful to know and to understand.
Yeah. So were we talking about Floyd? Was it you said? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that was kind of my first introduction to kind of, strength training a bit. And we didn't do much weights or anything like that. We did, a lot of movement skills, a lot of speed agility training. We were at Mo Hill, every morning, and he made us do a lot of that stuff, but it was all like body weight stuff. And that's kind of what got me into it. And then when we got to University of Guelph, we had Chris Mumford there, and we do a lot. Our team did a lot of his training and stuff. I think for me, and I look back at the way I trained, I don't know if I was training the right way in university, but there got to a point, in my later university days where it was all about just getting bigger. And I think I moved away from. I got to a weight. I think at one point I was about close to 190 or 187, and that wasn't great for me. I think for me, my ideal weight in playing was probably about 175, 180 for me to do the things that I wanted to do on the court. And now today, when, I think back, I'm a guy still to this day that just gets in the gym and just experiments, whether it be on the court basketball. Like I go and train guys at the Athlete Institute, and I get in there an hour, half an hour early, and I'm just experimenting. I still do that to this day, and I'm 43 years old. So I do the same thing in the weight room. I do a lot of movement stuff. I know you guys had Darren Vieira on, I don't know when it was, but he's a guy that I kind of have a similar approach to, a lot of movement stuff, a lot of stuff that, and so when I was training, I think there was a stage in my life where I was just about, because I was, I told you the obstacle of being, coaches looking at me being slight and underweight and stuff. I wanted just to get stronger and bigger. And I think that was kind of the wrong focus. I should have been looking at getting stronger, but keeping some of my, speed and agility and that. So for me now, looking back, and I got a chance to, work a lot with Thon Maker, and do all his strength and conditioning while he was here, and Mature Maker, and even some of the other guys, like Ignis Brasdikis and stuff like that. For me, it's been about, getting stronger in the off season, but keeping and improving some of their movement skills, and, incorporating some of the things that's going to help them move better, speed and agility. I have a strong focus on speed and agility. I still to this day do a lot of speed and agility drills just to keep up, and be able to do some of the stuff that I want to do when I play still. So yeah, so that's kind of like where I am with some of this gym stuff that I'm doing. I get approached to do a lot of, personal training. And so I want to incorporate a lot of movement skills, and focus on speed skills that will help them in the sport, whether it be, soccer, football, basketball, really breaking down some of the movements and stuff that they do in that sport, and finding ways to help them improve those movement skills. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I hope to do with, my personal training and stuff. So
fantastic. That brings up something that you said earlier, and I'd like to point out that sometimes as we get older, we forget some of the focuses, but I still significantly remember that your cachet went up significantly upon being able to dunk. And once dunking became a part of your game,
Yeah.
you actually became a much better defender as well. And I think it's overlooked that you had a reputation as a defender coming out of high school.
The spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was and that's where my competitiveness and kind of that jealousy factor I talked about comes in. Like I prided myself more on stopping someone. I couldn't care less how much I scored. Really, I wanted to show. I had this chip on my shoulder that I wanted to kind of prove that they weren't that good, and that's how I could do it, was by shutting them down. So like when I was playing, you know, the best players in District 10 or Kwasa or wherever, I wanted to, you know, shut them down. So even at the university level, coach would put the itinerary on the board and who the top players are, and I wanted to be matched up against their best player and be able to shut them down, or at least keep them, you know, well below their average. So that was something I pride myself on. In terms of the dunking stuff, yeah, it kind of, you know, once I think my first dunk, like in practice, would have been in grade 10, I think in a game in grade 11 and stuff. But that was a lot of the stuff I think that we did out with, you know, Floyd and you, Shake, would help me. I think in that one summer between grade 10 and 11, I increased my vertical like 6 or 7 inches, and, you know, all that hill training and jump training and stuff we did. And to go back to kind of what you're saying, Ben, is talking about with the, in university there, where I started to like think about just, you know, putting on weight, getting bigger and stuff like that. I started to lose some of that speed and agility and that jumping. I'm 43 and I can still dunk now, but I feel like I can dunk easier now than I could 7 years ago. And it's being that, figuring out which is your ideal weight, and that you can, you know, apply all your strengths and stuff with is important. And I think that knowing that and knowing that weight that you play and do all the things you want to do is important. But but dunking, did, once I was able to dunk Shake in grade 11, it added a different kind of level to my game. I was able to, you know, adjust in the air and finish in different ways, and even be able to go over people and stuff like that. But I think you know, once I think the first time, I don't know, I think we were playing pickup at GC. I think Shake, you were there, and I'd never even tried an alley-oop in my life, but I think someone threw me an alley-oop and I did it, and it was kind of like that one stepping stone to my confidence in terms of dunking. After that, I just felt like I could dunk anytime. But yeah.
So I have a quick question. Now you're a dad, you got a son coming up. How's that son-dad relationship, coach thing going?
So that's interesting, because it really started off when he was younger. I was pushing him. Like, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. You know, you're gonna do all the stuff that I got into. I'm gonna push you, and I don't think it really reacted well with him.
Yeah.
So now kind of like taking a step back, and, you know, like he's just the type of kid that's into everything. Like, one week he's basketball, next week he's tennis, next week he wants to go ski. Like, so I'm just kind of like laying low a bit in terms of the pushing. We go and do speed, agility, and strength training workouts probably every other day. We just finished one this morning. We're out on our grass there doing speed agility work, and he loves that stuff, and we just do that together. In terms of the basketball, if he gets into it and that's something he wants to do, then I'll push him. Like I said, I started late. I don't think that I feel like the best thing about me starting late was, compared to some of these guys who were playing since grade 2, grade 3, is I was still in the honeymoon phase of the game. You know, for the first 5 years of my life, I was loving it. Like, so the training, when people were out partying or whatever, I was still in love with getting better.
So as you're getting stronger and maturing, you're actually, those years that where the most development occurred, you were in the gym instead of being in the field with the case of beer and, you know, chasing girls around, you know. But I reflect a little bit on your dad, just kind of a very quiet man, didn't really say a lot, but I'd always know that he would say stuff to you. He always would come to me and say, you know, can you push him a little harder? He can do better. But he was never that dad that'd be screaming and yelling. But it seemed when he said something, it always was exactly to the point. Is that like how he was with you off the court?
Yeah, like I had the opportunity to be coached with him in soccer, right? So directly. So he was always about the mental side of things. Like he would always talk to me, you just got to know you're better. You have to, like, he would always really push the mental side of stuff. And he would get out there, like we would get out and play. He didn't know anything about basketball, but he would get me out there, rebounding, and he was always willing, like when I would, talk about Shake and the program he's running and maybe some guys that are doing stuff, he was all for it. Like he was very supportive. And but like as a kid, as any kid, listening to your dad, sometimes you just kind of brush it off and stuff. And my son did the same thing to me. So I'm sure he went through you guys a bit to kind of get me going a bit.
He was always very quiet though. He never yelled. Like I've had other dads, like, I won't say the name, but I had a dad at Centennial that went to Shake first and was screaming and yelling that I was on the bench. Yeah. And then 3 games later was screaming and yelling at me because Shake wasn't playing his kid. So that was never your father. I think Shake remembers that guy, who it was, but it was always, Centennial was a unique atmosphere because you had all these empowered, very successful people that for the first time in their lives couldn't control stuff. And they had, a couple university guys in control. And for some of them, it was a real challenge to let go, to be honest, so.
Well, definitely some very competitive parents in that crowd. And which you could see with the guys on that team, they were very competitive with each other. And that's what pushed us. Like, the parents cared and we cared and everyone. And when you guys came in, it was just a perfect fit for what we've done.
I wish I could get a video of the warm-ups just with everyone with the NBA jerseys. Does anyone have one of those? Do you have one, please? Do you have any of that stuff?
It's funny they said that because my parents are moving, so we went back to their place to help them move, and we're going through all the Toffer came and helped me move, and we're going through all these articles, and there was an article of when we won District 10, and we're all Hibbs is piled up on like all of us on the center of the University of Guelph floor. And we have those warm-ups. Some of the guys had the warm-ups, but yeah, I had Golden State. I think every guy on our team had a different.
You did. That's exactly.
So I think Kenny had Philadelphia 76ers. I had Golden State. So all of us had different warm-up, and that's how we used to warm up for our games, with a different NBA warm-up suit and with the tear-off pants and the shirt. So yeah,
and Beastie Boys Sabotage blaring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a mix. I remember. We had a mix of music because we had different guys on the team. But yeah, it was awesome. The memories with those guys were. It was just about basketball. It was just.
No, it was great. It was a real, like I said, one of my favorite teams ever coached, and I've coached a ton of them. And I said to Shake, I remember one practice, I'm like, okay, we're going to go to a 1-2-2 zone, and half we're going man, and then once the first pass, we're going to a 3-2 trap. Can we do it? You guys like, yeah, and we did it. And I'm like, we're pretty good, Shake. I was like, we're pretty good,
Like literally, like we would play ball and do the practices, but at nights we were like, every game that was on, whether it be NBA, college, let's go meet up, and we go meet up and watch, and that's all we do is talk basketball. Like, yeah, it was a good group of guys that just loved basketball, and you think about the guys that came out, most of those guys ended up playing somewhere. Chris, Hibbs, Toffer, even Josh could have played, but he went and played football or hockey, and
Paul Stewart.
Yeah, Paul Stewart.
Adam Myhill, I think.
Yep, Adam Myhill.
We had a lot of depth on that team, and even the guys before us that pushed us, like Jeremy Ware and Chris Seeley and Dan Latoira, those guys were all guys we looked up to and that pushed us. Like we were in grade 9, 10, going and playing pickup. It was just a good school for that. Like, Sundays would always be pickup, and all those guys would be there, and be 30 guys waiting to get in on runs at our high school. So it was just a good basketball environment, and then you guys came in and just pushed it to another level, and it was a perfect fit for us you know, who loved basketball, and then having you guys and the players ahead of us and stuff. So, and
that's the last picture that I have me of under 200 pounds is on that team when we won District 10.
Yeah.
Go trip down memory lane.
Yeah. Good time.
I always ask this, and you played all over the world. You played at every level. You've been involved in coaching. And what were the 3 secrets to your success allowing you to do these things?
Okay, so I'd say the first thing that I would say was just like learning from others. I thought that was one thing that I really did a good job of. I remember just being in my driveway, watching video clips, going back inside, you know, looking at VHS clips and watching them, going back outside, trying to do it, or going to the University of Guelph games. I was once I started getting into basketball, I was at every University of Guelph game watching, you know, those older guys, you guys play, and learning and watching how they warm up. And so just being a sponge and thinking that every person out there that's, you know, in your basketball life has something to offer you and you can learn from. And that's what I did really well, is I tried to take things from other players. Like I was watching other players play. I was watching what coaches taught. I was a sponge and picking up everything. And I was trying to implement those things when I was training. So I think being a sponge and trying to learn from different people, and kind of stealing different things of each people's games and stuff like that to try to improve your game, I think is a big one. Second thing I'd say is being passionate about it. Kind of just, you know, putting yourself in those circles and surround yourself with those people that can make you better. Would be definitely something. Would be something that helped me succeed. And I don't know if there's really a third. I think just, you know, those 2 things were 2 things that I can think of that helped me succeed. But just, I said earlier, like I was always trying to surround myself. I was trying to like call out Mark Melahez, Jeff McNeil, those guys. I wanted to, Mike Imbaggio. I was trying to put myself in those circles that would get me better, and helping me improve in my game. And being at the University of Guelph and sticking around after was all those things that kind of helped me succeed, I'd say.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got to cut myself out here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And don't forget to text me because I want to get some of that stuff.
Yeah. Anytime, Shake. With lockdown, I know my parents are driving up today. So anytime you want to come by, just shoot me a text. Any of you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do.
Really appreciate having on, Koven. Next time we come up and play, can you let us get a W, because we've never won it up at the Orangeville Prep. You know what I mean? But like I said, we have beaten you in other places at other times, but never seemed to be able to get a call, a win up in Orangeville. But I really appreciate the work and the effort you guys are doing. And, you know, just thank you so much for coming on. And, you know, it's always good catching up. And say hi to your mom and dad from me.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Jake.